Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Mobile and More, 5 Ways to a Better Keyless Entry System. 2 housekeeping points before we get started. The session is being recorded and you will receive a link over the next few days by email. Secondly, please submit your questions throughout the presentation in the Q&A section, and we will be addressing these toward the end of the webinar. Barcodes Group is a leading provider of people identification and automatic data capture solutions. People identification relates to employee ID, student ID, membership ID, as well as access control and visitor and employee management. If you're not familiar with the name Barcodes Group, you may recognize some of the brands in our People ID business, like AlphaCart, ID Wholesaler, ID Zone, and Southeast ID. To discuss how smart technologies can remove the hassle of keys and upgrade your building access control system, we couldn't ask for 2 better speakers to explore this topic with you. Bruce Bianco's career represents over 25 years in and around managing facility access control systems. He knows firsthand the challenges of small and medium businesses, having been the founder and president of a small company developing identity management software. After selling his company to HID Global, he has helped big and small customers find better identity and facility access solutions across North America, and today leads Simple Access Smart Access Control Solutions as VP and General Manager. Michael Ramos has been helping improve and manage facilities for over 30 years with Chicago Public Schools, where he serves as chief engineer for Von Steuben High School, a magnet school in North Chicago. Michael has been a leading advocate for creating safer facilities, founding his own company, NOAA Systems, to provide a unique solution for safer water quality and providing expert testimony to the Congressional Committee on Getting Lead Out of Our Water Supply in 2019. Michael will share his story today on an experience with a recent Affordable Facility Access System update. Thanks for joining us today, Bruce and Michael. Please take it away, Bruce.
Thanks, Edwin. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know we don't have a lot of time. It's a short webinar. But that's okay. We've got 2 main objectives to help the audience here understand some of the challenges that are facing specifically small, medium-sized businesses in the access control and facilities industry. To counterbalance that, we also want to talk through some of the new solutions that we're seeing that are addressing these challenges, again, specifically for everybody, but specifically for SMBs. So we want you to walk away with some ideas of, if you're interested in access either as a new install or you're interested in access as an upgrade, here are some things that you may want to think about. And we're also fortunate, as Edwin said, to have Michael join us as well. And he and I will talk through how he used smart access technologies in a recent project at Von Steuben. So some statistics in the building access. I like some of these. There's some interesting ones here. Over 50% of access control readers, and specifically systems, are 5+ years old. In a lot of cases, they're probably 10 or 15 years old. And there's a good reason for that. Not a lot has changed in the access control space. So if you had to rip and replace something, you want to do it with something that's going to be meaningful to your innovation, your organization, and have some business payback. And not to knock the industry, but security moves pretty slowly. That said, things are changing quite rapidly with mobile access, with cloud computing, with more secure technologies, both in cards and OSDP. So quite exciting, but there is a lot of old systems out there. 61% of people say that managing keys is frustrating, and it is. But for a lot of small businesses, it can be expensive to put in a managed access control system. Certainly, it was not only in the cost of implementing it, but in the cost of managing just based on the architecture. So not surprising. This one I found kind of interesting, and I think we're recording this, so I'll make a statement. Hopefully I won't be wrong. But it's less than 2% of current access control customers out there use mobile access. That has not been our experience with the platforms that we work with. But I think you'll see that for a number of reasons grow exponentially. It's mobile access has been around for 10 years. And it's kind of trickled along, but I do believe that you'll now see that number go up exponentially. Barriers, money. Access control has not been expensive, but new innovations in access control, specifically wireless, cloud, are making it much more affordable for people to take advantage of managed access in ways they just couldn't before. Business owners spend 20 hours a week on non-revenue generating opportunities. It's tough for organizations to go out and learn about access control and implement it and find out who the right partner is and what technology it is. It's important for business owners to focus on their business and partner with suppliers that do a lot of the heavy lifting. Changing needs. This one I think is going to transform more so, especially with COVID and hybrid work environments. Over 60% of companies currently operate in a hybrid work environment. That's going to change. A lot of these old access control systems were client server. At one time, it was thought that you shouldn't actually have your access control system connected to the external supply chain shortages. I mean, that's going to drive mobile access. You know, if you put a new access control system in today that's card-based, good luck getting cards in a lot of cases. And so I think all these things are going to drive things. And then certainly new technologies. Mike will talk to it in his project. Some of these things weren't available in a commercial environment in the past. And so new technologies, mobile, cloud computing, wireless technology is making access control, managed access control, much more available for a lot of people. Some common access challenges. I'll go through these quickly. Keys are a hassle. They are absolutely a hassle, but they come with your building. So that's kind of nice. But they don't provide any management. They don't provide any visibility. They don't provide any ability to revoke or make it, or they don't make it easy for you to get keys back. They don't let you know who's in the building. If somebody leaves and you have to rekey things, it can get expensive. But yeah, when you walked into your building and you got your new lease, there was a key. And if you asked an integrator to come out and put an access control system in, they give you a decent number. And so keys seem to be okay, but keys are not access control. Keys lock doors. They don't manage entry into a building. Another challenge, can I afford it? Again, I'm going to hit on this a lot through the presentation. But up until now, it's been very expensive. Pulling wire, panels, labor, bolting readers on, that's all been expensive. That is changing. Now, there's still some times where that existing architecture is required, but there's lots of opportunity where people can implement smart access control solutions that achieve what they want to with managed access control, but allow them to do it much more affordably. Administration and support. Putting access control systems in the past, especially client server on-premise systems, meant that you had to have somebody within your organization managing the servers and the computers and the connections. So it wasn't just, hey, I need somebody to learn the software so they can issue cards to people and manage their rights, but I need somebody to manage the network and the equipment that this stuff is on. Again, with cloud computing, that is all changing. And then how do I add? It seems expensive. It seems complicated. How do I add more doors? And that's a challenge. But again, good news. That's changing with advances in innovation in access control technology. And I've said this, but it's exciting because more so now, I've been in this business for, like Edwin said, 25 years. And, again, I don't want to knock it, but it hasn't changed substantially in a long time. But some of the things that we've been talking about are starting to become real and really becoming relevant to a lot of organizations, particularly small to medium-sized businesses. So I'm just checking my time. So common challenges, who's in the building? If you're not able to use a managed access control system, even a dated client server one that, sort of, it sounds like I'm knocking, I'm not. But keys wouldn't give you the ability to sort of say who's in the building. Off hour access, there's no way, if you're not, if you're using keys, there's no way to manage, or distribute keys after hours, especially with a hybrid workforce now. It's very difficult to give people cards or keys if they're not showing up or you're not showing up at the office. Managing flexible schedules, again, same concept. And remote is a big thing, especially for organizations that have current access control systems. How do I manage? We hear that more and more all the time. How do I manage my systems remotely? Most of the technology that was implemented 15, 10, 5 years ago doesn't have those capabilities. New stuff. People are hearing more about phones. And so, hey, what is this meaning to me? Especially with chip shortages where they can't get cards, and the cost of cards. And hey, these new models are possibly financially more affordable for me. So I don't know if it's a challenge, but it's certainly a question that's coming up. Smart solutions, not the answer to every issue, but certainly providing, again, if you left with anything, new technology is providing lots of opportunities for small to medium-sized business, all businesses, to be honest with you, to look at technology that now helps them manage their business more efficiently, save money, lower costs, take advantage of technology to manage doors, manage access, address some of the issues that if they're not using an access control system now, that they have with keys, which is really a lack of visibility. The time and convenience of managing things, saving that time, is certainly something that we're seeing as a benefit of these new smart technologies. Enhanced security. A lot of the older technology, specifically Prox cards, if you Google Prox technology, you get a lot of hits on Google about how you can clone it. There's other secure technologies, but in a lot of cases, you have to do research on it. But in a lot of cases, mobile access technology, and I won't go into great detail, but because of authentication keys and because of the computing power of what is now in your hand, your phone, it can be much more secure between the card and the reader and your access. So if you're new to access control and you're thinking about it, think about mobile access, because not only will you get a access control system that would be far less expensive than it was 5 or 10 years ago, but substantially more secure. And one of the things we don't want to forget about is enhanced company image. And one of the things I talk about is you've got a younger workforce joining your organization, and they're very used to using their phones for a lot of things. And so it's relevant to your employees, to visitors, to suppliers. Overall company image, being innovative, making sure your place is secure, certainly something that it is beneficial. Cost, again, you know what, I apologize, I've talked this one, but just to give you an example, and again, we're not saying that Wi-Fi is the answer to everything, but in a lot of cases, there are great opportunities to install Wi-Fi locks instead of wired locks, and wired becomes wire panel reader. You're looking at about half the price, but that 2,500 number that you see for a traditional wired system is probably on the low end. 1,500, 2,500. I've seen installations on a single door that has a vaulted ceiling where you have to bring in a lift, and if you have a lift, you have to have 2 laborers by law. It can go up to $7,000. So there's substantial savings with, let's just say, smart technology. Okay, so some of the actual solutions. Wi-Fi locks, they're fantastic. They give you all the same management capabilities that you get. And you can see in a lot of cases, you still get to use keys if you want. There's a lot of different modes. You can use cards or pins or smartphones with them, but they instantaneously give you managed access control that you didn't have before. There's no wiring, there's no access panels, and they're simple in access. They're simple to install and easy to manage. This one I'm really excited about. So this is a new platform that's coming out, and it's actually bringing Wi-Fi to the traditional wired door. And I don't want to go too much on a tangent, and I'm fearful that I may do that. But instead of having a reader connected to wire that's going back to a panel, we now have the ability, and typically, let me back up, typically, Wi-Fi locks can go on traditional doors where there's enough space to put a hinge lock, like a latch lock or something. And so as long as, even if it has glass, as long as it's wide enough that you could put a latch on it, it's good. So anyway, fast forward to this product. Sorry, I apologize. That was my fault. Could you go back, Edwin? There we go. Sorry about that. This product is designed for the metal frame, the retail glass doors that have typically had to been wired, which is more expensive. This is going to be one of the first technologies or first products that will actually replace it with Wi-Fi. So you'll put this reader on, it will control the strike, it will control the REX, and it will Wi-Fi right back to the cloud if you want. So you're removing all the wire, the labor, the panel. This is going to be a fantastic product for SMBs. Mobile access readers, we talked about that. If you have access control, there's ways to upgrade your existing access control. We'll have a question and answer period afterwards. If you're like, hey, listen, I like what Bruce is saying, but I'm not in a position where I can update my access control system, but I would love to take advantage of mobile access. There is ways that you can retrofit your existing system. If you're a new organization to access control and you're tired of some of the hassles that come along with keys, and you're now at a point that's saying, hey, listen, I'd like to get more interest, or I'd like to be more knowledgeable about this technology that we're talking about today. Mobile access is absolutely something that you should be thinking about. It's from a distribution standpoint, it's easier to distribute credentials. It's more secure. It's got a cool factor, the image, which I know is horrible, but I had to say it. It does. It's easy. It's more convenient. If you've got members, it's easy to engage with them. I mean, if you're handing out cards, you have to have them come in. So mobile access. Cloud computing. So this is big. So a lot of traditional and still a lot of access control systems being put in our traditional wired access control system. Cloud computing is changing that and responding to these hybrid work environments, or where people are not going to be in the office. Less taxing on your IT. There's no hardware, local hardware to manage or support to upgrade. Distributing it, getting upgrades, it's all done in the cloud. There are opportunities where client server architecture, in my opinion, there's few, are relevant. But what I'm saying is if you're in a position to upgrade or you're looking at a new system, absolutely put cloud computing as a requirement. And the last one, this is like a +1. We talked earlier on about how the small, medium-sized business spends 20% on non-revenue generating, growth generating activities. And that's for most small businesses, that's a no-no. Make sure that when you're working with an organization, that you're working with a full service organization that can not only help you with the install, but understanding what products are out there, be your trusted advisor, help you with training your employees on this system, be there for when you need support, is really important. And they are out there, absolutely. So I tried to keep it as generic as possible. This is our infomercial, and so Simple Access being part of the Barcodes group that Edwin talked about, we do have a start to finish solution that includes cloud software, a number of Wi-Fi and wired locks depending on your opening. They come with a host of professional services from installation to training to support. So that you can focus on your business and allow us to be your partner in access control. Oh, we're going back one unless you're saying I don't have enough time. We're gonna skip one, and so Michael Ramos is the chief building engineer at Von Steuben Metropolitan High School, as Edwin said. Are you on now, Michael?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So for our audience, maybe you can give us an idea of the school, the situation. Was this a brand new system for you guys? Was this an add-on for you guys? Let us know what the situation was, what the problem was at your school.
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks, and I appreciate the invitation, and I'm glad to be here to share my story and the challenges that we faced. We had an original Schlage system installed here, fob system around the building. We had 3 doors that were keyed with this Schlage system. Each of them started to fail within like weeks of each other. We have one on the north end of the building, one on the south end of the building, which is basically right next to each of the teacher and student parking lots.
Yeah.
So as everything was working, you know, it's fine. Everyone could just get out of their cars, especially in the winter months, come right into the building. But as they started to fail, we tried all different kinds of ways to get the system operational again. Even though it was antique and it was, you know, outdated, we still needed to have that some kind of control in the building. I mean, security is top, you know, notch. As an engineer, we have to make sure that the building is secured at all times. We have to know who's coming in and out, and only the folks that need access were granted access. But we do have 2,000 students in the building. So basically what it was is we had an original system. This was more of like an improvement, retrofit. We used the existing doors and just installed this simple access system on top of the original.
Michael, was the existing, how did you manage the adding new people to the doors and stuff of the existing or the older system?
Well, it's funny because you mentioned it a little while ago in one of your slides. It says it could take up to like 20 hours a week to manage an old antique system like I had. And it literally would take forever for me to do that because we were constantly getting new people coming in, people leaving, you know, so one teacher would hand off a fob to another person. But in a sense, what we would have to do is we'd have to take a fob, a new fob, scan it on a card reader, enter it into the system, program it for that person, upload it to a Palm Pilot, take the Palm Pilot to each of the doors, and then program the doors individually for that specific person. So it's very time consuming, and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's the system that we had, so that's what we had to run with.
So I'm going to jump ahead. I think this is a good opportunity with the new Simple Access solution. How is that different as far as onboarding a new person? The other ones with the Palm Pilot sounds, you're absolutely right, a little bit archaic. How does the new process work?
The new process is a lot simpler because we get a notification that, yeah, we're going to have a new employee coming in. We get the fob, we enter in the serial number, and then we can program that person into the schedules that we have pre-built into the system, into the software, and then just assign that person to that fob, and then we just give them the fob. It's that simple, and then it'll actually program all of the exterior doors at the same time. So it's not like we have to go to each individual door and manually upload the program.
Gotcha. How is you've had this a fairly new system for you? You've had it for a few months.
Yes.
How is it working for you?
Phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about it. You know, when Ryan reached out, asked if I'd participate today, I didn't hesitate because I'm very impressed with the system. It makes my job and the other engineers' jobs so much easier when it comes to fobs. We can actually monitor who's coming in, real-time information. We get weekly updates. We had an incident the other day where one of the teachers misplaced her fob. She wasn't sure if a kid picked it up or if she lost it somewhere at home. So I was able to track activity on her fob to see if someone actually picked it up and started using it, which luckily it wasn't the case. Then she was able to find it again. So having that ability to be able to track a fob and actually see like who's coming in through what doors and what times is crucial to make sure that we keep track of everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What any plans for the future? Outside of these four doors.
Well, what I'm trying to do is I was so impressed with the system, and as engineers and facility managers, we're always looking for ways to use technology to make our daily lives easier, right? To fix like daily challenges. And this system falls perfectly in line with that. So what I did was I pushed this up, and this is the first time I've ever done it for a company, push this up to the folks who write the specs for Chicago Public Schools. Because at the beginning of the year, we transitioned from a company called Airmark to JLL. And what they were doing is they were sending engineers to a local locksmith with all the keys to the building, have the locksmith cut keys for each of the 500 buildings, and then have like a key vault where all the buildings' keys are stored at one central location, which is like close to the lakefront here in Chicago, right off of Lakeshore Drive.
Yep.
So, and the reason why they did that was if there's an emergency overnight, instead of calling engineers, they would call building managers. Some of them live in Waukegan, some of them live in Grays Lake. They would call one of them. They'd have to go all the way to the key vault and then drive all the way out to the facility that was in question, and then meet the police there and let the police into the building, which makes, it's just logistically that makes no sense. If they use this system and install one of these at each of the buildings, they could give access to all the building managers that need access, where it'd be very simple. They have that fob on their person. If there's an emergency, they'd be able to show up straight to the facility, get access, and then just make sure that everything's taken care of in record time instead of waiting and wasting all this time.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I can't think. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry, Bruce, but not only did I push it up to CPS, to the head of facilities and the folks that write the specs, but I'm talking to building managers that are on like a local level, telling them that they need to install this system in buildings around here because the engineers work together. So if one engineer is off, we need to send another engineer over there to cover. That engineer would have access to that building without having to track someone down or call a security guard. Hey, can you come and let me in? It just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So
especially
basically
with the mobile app.
Yeah, that too. Yes.
Yeah. Listen, Michael, I can't thank you enough. It's always awesome when somebody comes on and shares their story for others to hear. So I can't thank you enough for joining us and participating with us and being a customer. So thank you very much.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure.
I think now hand it back to Edwin, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll open it up for any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce and Michael, for the insightful presentation. And so they're around. So if you can stick around and have, a question and answer session, please answer your questions into that Q&A section, and they will address them. Now, while you do that, if you're interested to learn how you can affordably improve convenience and enhance security with keyless entry, please reach out to Bruce for a free consultation, or to your account manager at any of the Barcodes Group entities listed on the screen. And we look forward to working with you. So I see a question that came in. One, and actually you just mentioned it, this system saved my job, Michael. And you said it earlier before the webinar started. Could you expand on that a little bit? That might be of interest to the audience.
Well, we have over 200 personnel in the building. We have security guards, lunchroom staff, coaches. So we have before school programs that start at like 6 o'clock in the morning and they run to like 7:30 in the evening. So without having an operational system in place where people had access to the building when they needed to, so they could run their programs, we could get school kicked off on time, we had only access to one door, which was on the north end of the building, and we had to distribute keys. So we had to install a key cylinder and distribute keys, over 200 keys to folks. So folks that were parking on the south end, because it's a really high traffic area, so we have a lot parking fills up fast around here. So the teachers that were parked on the south end would have to walk all the way to the north end to get access to the building. And if they're running programs where they have to get in the building at a certain time, it was just putting everyone behind. So I mean, I'm joking that it was going to cost me my job, but I mean, it was like time is of the essence. In order we tried ordering another Schlage system just to at least get the north building covered, or the north side of the building covered. It was going to cost over $5,000 just for that lock, and it was a 16-week lead time. There was no way that we could wait 16 weeks to get these doors resolved. So I ran across Simple Access through the IT guy here, reached out to Ryan, we started talking, and it made perfect sense to us, and we implemented. And like I said, I mean, it's a great system, and I couldn't be happier.
Could you touch on the implementation a little bit? Was it a long process? Was it simple? What did you expect, and what did it end up being?
It wasn't a long process at all. It was pretty simple. They suggested that we change some of the hardware, like the panic bars. It was pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Great. I have one quick question for Bruce before we wrap it up. How do you issue mobile credentials to end user smartphones, and then how do you revoke them if you need to later?
That's the beauty of this thing. It's a button. So when in the system, without going into too much detail, in the system, you go into the person's user records. So Bruce Bianco, if I was to issue a credential, I've got to type in their card number, and then I've got to find them and give them their card. If I'm issuing them a mobile credential, I don't do anything. I just Bruce Bianco, I hit issue mobile credential. They suddenly get a notification on their phone. They go through the two-step process of downloading the app. It puts a key on the system or on their phone, and then they now have they can use their phone just like they could use a card. Revoking is just as easy or just as difficult. With a card, I have to find the person or go into the system and hope it wasn't duplicated. With revoking, or what's referred to as key revocation, on a mobile phone or mobile key, I just say remove. I remove it, and the second I do it, it's gone. They have no more rights.
Question just came in. Are people able to access when the Wi-Fi goes down?
Yeah, good question. Awesome question. Yeah, so each of the Wi-Fi locks actually have their own little controller built in. So normally in a traditional access control system, there's a controller in some kind of IT closet, but you're absolutely right. So Wi-Fi is specifically required to synchronize what's in the cloud, the rights that you're giving Bruce or Michael, the schedules. But once you hit submit or upload or finish or whatever, it then downloads it to all the, not just one, but it will download it to all the devices or locks or doors that I have access to. If the Wi-Fi then goes down, I can still use my PIN card, my phone, or my card to get in those doors.
Very good, very good. Well, with that, we've reached the end of our webinar. Thanks again, Bruce and Michael, for helping us out today and giving us your insights. Thank you for the audience for attending. Hopefully we can continue our conversation, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.